So I'm not gonna lie, I like this one. I've been wanting to do this one forever, for a very long time. It's definitely one of my favorite Golden Age Batman stories. And, well, I mean, I don't see a reason why I should try and hide it from you, so I'll just go out and say it. This story is the first time that Batman ever did battle with a genuine supervillain. And I do mean supervillain, as in this guy has superpowers. This story describes him as an ancient man, cloaked in the robes of a monk, but possessing the powers of Satan. Does that sound exciting to you? I'm excited. I've always said that the best Batman stories are the ones that highlight his vulnerability as a human being, and this one certainly does the trick. Batman has to overcome insurmountable odds in this issue, and he has to deal with supernatural powers just beyond his understanding. It's an interesting place to take the character, and I'm happy that they were willing to go there. So without further shenanigans or whatever, let's look at Batman versus the Monk. The story starts off with Julie Madison, who will become Batman's fiance for this story. For those who don't know, she was common in Golden Age stories. Occasionally she would pop up. If you want to see the origin, that's in the Batman Secret Origins episode. Go back and look at that. But in this, she is not currently prey, but she is actually predator. She is hunting down her mark in a seemingly hypnotic trance while Batman chases her from the rooftops, stopping her from committing murder just at the very last moment. Then he takes her and puts her in the Batmobile and he drives her home. The next day, Bruce Wayne shows up and she tells him everything about what happened the previous night. So he decides to take her to go see a doctor so they can get a professional opinion on what's happening because she's blacking out and she doesn't really remember anything. So I want to mention this. I want to point out this panel here where Batman tells this guy to stay on this telephone pole, and that's just hilarious. He says, stay on this pole until he's given permission to leave. And then Batman never comes back. And he never gives him permission to leave. So as far as the story goes, I want you to remember this guy who was probably still sitting up there waiting for an eternity. Anyway, the doctor explains that Julie has been hypnotized and he recommends that she goes on a vacation to Hungary to reset her mind. The doctor, when you look at him, is obviously under a trance, and this is obviously a trap, but Bruce sends her anyway, and then returns to Wayne Manor to get equipped. This time, we're introduced to the Bat Gyro, and behold, the first appearance of the Batarang. Then Batman boards the gyro, and the roof of Wayne Manor opens up beautifully, so he can lift off into adventure. So, by this count, Batman now has 2 different vehicles and 4 different gadgets, including the legendary Batarang. I cannot overstate the historical importance of this comic panel. This is getting serious now. His armory is growing ever larger as the formation of the character takes place, and soon he will resemble what we know as Batman today, and we will have been here to witness it. That's really cool. So then Batman has a little bit of fun. He decides to fly the gyro all over Gotham City, which scares the citizens who think it's some kind of, monster, giant bat monster. And in a rare bit of levity, it's shown that Bruce Wayne is laughing. He's getting quite a bit of kick out of it. But that's not his goal, not right now, and he has to get back to work. His main goal now is to fly out to sea to intercept Julie, who is on her voyage. Batman lands on the boat to confront Julie, but the monk is already there and attempts to use hypnosis on Batman. Luckily, his brand new Batarang succeeds in distracting the monk long enough for Batman to make his escape back to the gyro. So this scene is fast, but it's important because it emphasizes just how vulnerable Batman is to the monk. He is a mortal man. At the end of the day, Bruce Wayne is just a guy. So the monk's powers of hypnosis can literally overwrite his free will. It can rob him of his autonomy. So this, ironically, makes the monk one of the most deadliest enemies that Batman has ever faced, and the first time in Batman's history that he couldn't simply punch his opponent into submission. So Batman flies the gyro to Paris and decides to rendezvous with Julie there. He searches all over the city, but he can't seem to find her until suddenly he spots her in what looks like a castle? Except when he approaches her, he is suddenly besieged by a gorilla, literally out of nowhere, literally a gorilla. Then he falls right into the monk's trap. So now the monk has Batman all tied up, and he is lowering him into the snake pit below. But Batman has an idea. He uses his trusty batarang to flip the switch and shatter some glass. Both at the same time, mind you. Then he uses the shards of glass. He catches the shards of glass in midair and uses them to cut the rope in the net. And then he just escapes, literally seconds before being devoured by these snakes. Really, I want to emphasize, I really got to emphasize this, that Batman is completely vulnerable here. He spends the entire story on the receiving end of Monk's dastardly powers and traps, and this is an extreme contrast to the previous villains who were all receiving Batman's punishments. You know, they were all on the receiving ends of Batman's fury. That reversal of power is not only compelling, but it becomes a hallmark of the character. Now Batman is trying to escape the monk, but when suddenly another trap locks him into a cage with, get this, literally another gorilla, possibly the same gorilla, I guess, as before, as I can't imagine the monk is the owner of multiple gorillas. At this point, Batman is well and truly beaten. So he just makes his escape from the gorilla and leaves the castle. Instead of pursuing the monk, he heads outside and he boards the bat gyro. He flies off, and we see Julie down on the road below, and she's driving a car, and he swoops down and he gasses her with a gas pellet. Then he literally grabs her and he flies away with her. Then he sets the automatic controls on the gyro to go to Hungary, where he plans to make his final stand against the immortal monk. And that's it for this issue. He doesn't win. He just runs away. He just grabs Julie and just flies off, you know? But we still have to get through issue number 2. This is only the midpoint in the story, and it's actually kind of the lowest point for Batman right now, probably the lowest point in his career thus far. He experienced not one, but 2 big failures in this issue, and I can't imagine it's going to get any better. You know, you're probably wondering at this point how he can even overcome such a powerful enemy as the monk. Well, you're about to find out. We start this issue, and Batman is already in Hungary trying to hunt down the monk. You know, he's totally had a role reversal, he's feeling good, and he is out there and he is hunting for the monk. We see him here chasing down this speeding carriage, but it's of no use. The monk isn't inside this carriage. Instead, it's just some random woman. So Batman gasses the woman and takes her aboard the gyro, and he brings her to his hideout that he's established inside of a hotel. The woman starts to gain consciousness, but he doesn't trust her. But he brings her in anyway to be with his fiance. He doesn't trust her, but he brings her in anyway. And it's not made perfectly clear why Batman kidnaps this woman. She's not immediately shown to be related to the monk in any way. The text just literally says that he is suspicious of her, and it doesn't say why. But, as I said before, he invites her in to stay with his fiancée. Batman spends the night watching over the girls as they sleep, but this turns out to be a mistake because Dala, who is the name of the woman, is a sleepwalker. Or perhaps she is under the spell of the monk, I can't really tell, and using her superior strength and mental stature, she knocks Batman out cold. So then Batman goes to check on Julie, because even though he was suspicious of this woman, he brought her in to stay with his fiance. Turns out, Dala bit Julie on the neck. And now Julie, I guess, is becoming a vampire. So now Batman suddenly realizes, hey, I shouldn't have trusted Dala. So he chases after her and deduces that she is in fact a vampire, but she explains that she hates herself and she hates what she has become, and she will give Batman the location of the monk if he promises to destroy the monk and set her free from this curse. Batman agrees, and he trusts her again. Like an idiot, Batman agrees to trust Dala, even though she has already betrayed him once, but who knows? People change. I don't know, maybe she'll come through this time. I doubt it. But who knows? So then Batman leaves Julie at the hotel and boards the Bat Gyro with Dala. Then she shows him the path to the monk's castle, but in the middle of their flight, the monk uses his telekinetic powers to fling just this massive net into the sky, and it catches the gyro and drags it to the ground. Then, immediately, are you ready for this? Dala betrays Batman. Again. And it's all his fault. And the monk shows up to hypnotize him, so Batman is now under the control of the monk, who leads him into a den of werewolves. Except Dala remarks to the monk that they should summon Julie to the castle so that her and Batman can die together, and his ultimate victory will be achieved. Wow, you know, that's crazy. That's a really heavy betrayal. Geez, you know, if only there was a way you could have known that she was gonna betray you, Batman. It's almost like vampires can't be trusted. Julie arrives at the castle and the monk forces Batman into the wolf's den. Then he shows us another one of his powers. He morphs into the form of a werewolf and he howls into the night, summoning a pack of wolves to come and feast on the Batman's body. So the Batman tries to use his trusty silk rope to escape, but he fails to hit his mark. With the wolves upon him, he uses one of his gas pellets to buy himself some time. He puts the wolves to sleep, but it's no use. Even with the wolves delirious, he can't seem to throw the rope high enough. Then Batman gets a brilliant idea. He uses one end of the rope, ties it to the Batarang, and he tosses it into one of the columns in the wolf's den, and then uses that to climb up the side of the wall, escaping with his life. But then he emerges from the wolf's den to realize that the sun has risen. The sun is up over Hungary, and the castle is bathed in light. And the vampires, because the sun is up, they are asleep. In their arrogance, they assumed that Batman would die, that he would already be dead, and they didn't bother to see the deed out to completion. Using this opportunity, he melts down a silver statue into some bullets, and then he takes his pistol. Yeah, Batman has a pistol. Sometimes he has it, sometimes he doesn't. Right now he has it, and he takes the silver bullets, loads them into his pistol, and fires them into the hearts of both the monk and Dala while they're sleeping. With the monk dead, the curse on Julie has been lifted, and she is free from his spell forever. So now, I know some of you are probably going to say that this ending is anticlimactic, and it is, but you have to understand that there was no other way this could end. The monk as a vampire has so much power. He's not just a vampire. The monk is 1,000 year-old elder vampire. He has so much power that there was just no other way Batman could have overcome him. There's no other way. It's not possible. Think about it. The monk has near limitless power over him and his fiance, mind control, telekinesis, power over animals, effective immortality, and immunity to damage. The only way he could beat him would be a cheap shot while the monk was sleeping. And honestly, I don't think any less of Batman for ending it that way. I mean, I would have done the same thing in his position. No shame, no regrets. I mean, really, did you think Batman was gonna punch him to death? Seriously, like, this is a better ending than if Batman had beaten Monk into like a hand-to-hand fight, you know, like a fist fight. This is more thematic to a vampire story. Vampires are traditionally predatory creatures. It could be said that they are the apex predators, you know, of like supernatural beings. They are the apex predators of humanity. Humans are the dominant force in the food chain, and vampires are one step above us. They eat us. You know, we're not meant to go toe-to-toe with them. We're meant to run away and hide and hope that they don't eat us. That's what we're meant to do. And this is pretty much why I really love the monk as a villain, because in many ways he is the antithesis of Batman as a character. Bruce Wayne is a man who runs around dressed like a bat and pretends to have powers. The monk is a literal bat who has literal powers. Batman, who up to this point has been the apex predator in Gotham City, suddenly finds himself face to face with someone who is far deadlier than he is, a literal apex predator. It's a nice role reversal. I love it, and it is thematically compelling, and I believe this ending really drives that fact home. Batman isn't the apex predator. He was only going to win by a cheap shot. And it wouldn't make any sense for Batman to overcome the monk with any sort of effort, because that's not the point of the story. You know, if Batman beat the monk in a fist fight, it would do nothing to highlight Batman's vulnerability as a human character. And as a result, he would have learned nothing. The readers would have learned nothing. They would have felt nothing. It's the fact that he was able to overcome a more powerful enemy using his humanity. That's the real message here, and that's what I want you guys to take away from this. And that's a fact that most modern Batman stories miss entirely. It's not about Batman's strength, it's about his humanity. That's what separates him from other heroes. But anyway, that's it for this episode. If you liked this comic, if you liked reading it with me and you want to read more, why not like this video and subscribe to my channel? Or if you're feeling very generous, you can donate to my Patreon, and I'd really appreciate that. But until next time, nerds, stay heroic.